Everybody, we have a panel of 4 parents that are going to share their experiences raising their kiddos with autism, who they're all now young adults. And we thank you for coming and sharing your experiences, and hope that all of you who are with us today walk away with new ideas and hope. So we will begin with our first question allows everybody to introduce yourselves. So we will start with, please tell us about you and your child. How many members are in your family? What is your child's age and name? And what are they currently up to? And we'll start with Mindy.
Oh, thank you. Hi, my name's Mindy. My son is Nick Bolin. He's 27 now. Let's see, how many members are in my family? There's 4 of us. My daughter is out on her own teaching. Nick has graduated high school, graduated Heartland, and he now has a job at ISU doing data entry. So this from a little boy who didn't talk for probably, 5 years? Yeah, so we're pretty excited.
Jackie. We'll just go down the line right now.
Hi, my name is Jackie Mace. I have 4 children, well, 6 if you include my stepchildren by marriage. My twins will be 27 in November, and one of them has autism. The other one is a special education teacher at Normal Community High School. My one daughter is a farmer, and the other one owns a spa. We have 5 people that live in the household, including Austin and his brother right now, and Marty and my husband and myself. I have 10 grandchildren, and I will be a great-grandmother come November. I'm also the president and founder of Autism McLean.
Cindy.
Okay, I'm Cindy Abbott, and I am the mother of Race. He is 17 years old, and he's going to be graduating in less than 30 days. There are 5 of us in our family. My husband and I have been married for 27 years. He's the bubble guy and the trailer guy outside. Our daughter is 23. She goes to U of I as a vet student. And my mom is 80 and lives with us, so she's helped parent with us over the last almost 18 years.
And Paul.
Hi, my name is Paul Dees. My daughter Kira has autism. She's 25 years old. We have another daughter named Haley, who's 23. She is a special ed teacher in 5th grade, first year. And my wife is also in education. She's a director of professional learning at West 40 in suburban Cook County. And I'm a stay-at-home dad for the last 10 years.
Thank you. All right, next question. Thinking back to when your child was young, when did you sense that something was different? Can you talk about what that diagnostic process looked like, and what age were they when they received the diagnosis? And then adding on to that, after you received that diagnosis, what services did they receive, or did you wish they would have been able to receive, because things have changed in the last 15, 20 years. So we'll start with Cindy.
So Race, I noticed something when he was 2, because our daughter was talking like complete sentences when she was 15 months old. And I know you can't compare kids, but he was talking and then it stopped. And one day we were in just kind of his behavior a little bit. He get angry really fast at things. And so we were watching WEEK one night, and I forget the anchor's name, but she must have had a son on the spectrum, and she was partnering with Easter Seals, and she had this program on, and I was sitting there eating dinner with my mom, and I said, that's Race, that's Race, that's Race, everything she was listing. And so I contacted them, and they put me in with, was it Dr. Morton at Carl in Urbana. And so I filled out it was like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions, and then he evaluated Race, and he diagnosed him with autism. And even though I knew, I was still like heartbroken. But but I don't know why, because he's amazing. So right away we got OT, developmental and speech in our house because he was under 3. And so I wish I would have said something sooner because that really, really helped him out a lot. So, yeah.
Thank you. Jackie.
Austin developed quite typically, and I did have his twin brother to compare him to. So, he had joint attention, he was social, he had words, he pointed. Until about 18 months, he started to decline in the things that he did. He stopped following directions. Like if it was bath time, he wouldn't go directly to the bathroom. He wouldn't go to bed. He was having trouble sleeping. And I kept bringing my concerns to his pediatrician at the time. And I got a lot of, well, don't compare him to his brother. And I'm like, no, there's something going on because, he had the skill and he's not doing it now. And I've been around children a lot. And so finally, when he was just before he turned 2, he started having what I called staring spells, where he just wasn't responding at all. And so the doctor sent us for an evaluation at that point, and they diagnosed him as developmentally delayed, but atypical in the area of autism because he still had a lot of social contact and would still follow some verbal direction. But then we moved here to Bloomington about the same time. We started early childhood intervention services, which was amazing. But within about 6 months, he had continued to lose skills. So at 30 months, they said, we think you should have him evaluated again. So we went to a developmental pediatrician, and at that time, she diagnosed him as severely autistic and mentally retarded. He had no functional skills at that point. He laid, he cried, he kicked the walls. So it was quite a shock. But getting a diagnosis was also a relief to me because at least we had a start of a place to really look. And so, the early childhood service interventions were amazing. And our school experience was actually very good too. But we worked really hard to learn every kind of therapy we could and implemented it a ton at home.
Thank you. Paul.
So with Kira, it was a similar story. I see some similar threads here. She was normally developing about 18 months and then started to show those regressions, kind of a backsliding. She was our firstborn, so we really didn't have a comparison. So we had our first diagnosis when she was around 2.5. It was probably till she was 4 that we actually believed it, because she had the eye contact. She had a lot of things that weren't in that stereotypical bucket for autism. We got early intervention, physical therapy, occupational therapy, all those things. I don't know what more I have to add to that.
That's all right. Thank you. Mindy.
Let's see. Nick was diagnosed when he was 2, but I noticed something probably when he was at least 1, and I thought he didn't have good hearing because we would call to him or come in a room and he would totally ignore that we were around. But you turn on a Disney movie and he was right there in front of the TV. So I thought he could hear, but I wasn't sure, so we brought that concern to his doctor. And so we had his hearing tested, and they're like, that's fine. They did another test that said he was developmentally delayed like a year. And I think that was like when he was 14 months. So he was only showing signs of a 4 or 5 month old. But they really didn't give me anything to go on. And I was in a craft store, and a lady goes, well, have you tried SPICE? And it's an acronym for something which I can't tell you what.
It's not SPICE anymore, but it was early intervention.
Yeah, it was an early intervention. So anyway, they started doing things with him to help him progress, and they're like, we really think you need a diagnosis. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, there's 1 person in Peoria or a team of 9 in Champaign. And I'm like, well, I'll take the team of 9. That sounded good. Wish I'd never done that because they put Nick through so much. He still hates doctors. He still has white coat syndrome. But they said at the time when he was 2, so the 9 doctors all saw him, and They said he was moderately autistic and mildly mentally retarded. Well, he's not. He's super smart. They handed me a bunch of flyers and sent me out the door. And I remember thinking, oh my God, now what? And the computers had just started, and you go online and there's 250,000 things to look at. And that was overwhelming. So we just got him into school in Unit 5 as soon as we could, and they were awesome with him. So I have really good school stories, feelings towards Unit 5. They did really good by Nick. So I think that's it.
Yeah. So some similar diagnostic stories, some differences. How long would you say, I'm going off script here, how long would you say, you're all looking, how long would you say was there the delay between when you first recognized an issue and the actual time that it took to get a diagnosis? And we'll just go down the line.
1 year.
About 9 months.
I would say 3 to 6 months.
I would say about a year and a half.
And I would say those are probably very common numbers that families experience. Right. Yeah. And that is in a difference in probably 10 years age span because they were all going through that diagnostic process differently. And I would say if a family is going through that diagnostic process right now, I've worked with families locally who still have to wait 12 months to receive that diagnosis just to get in for that evaluation. And that's locally. And as we heard, there was one provider in Champaign and one locally. And we have a few more now. However, we also know the prevalence rate 15 years ago was 1 in 2,500. 1 in 2,500, and just a month and a half ago, it was released to be 1 in 36. So we've seen exponential numbers increase over the past 10 or 15 years. All right. Next question. How has your child changed since first being diagnosed? In what areas do you feel your child now excels? And in what areas still require support? We'll start with Jackie.
Well, he's toilet trained. No,
We'll talk about that because that was a process.
It was a process. It's all a process. Well, like I said before, he hadn't really no functional communication, no functional behaviors when he was first diagnosed. And luckily, one of the first things that I had learned about was picture exchange communication systems when he was about 3.5. And through the use of PECS, for short, he took off with his language. We had tried for almost a year to teach him signs, and he just didn't get it. But once he learned the picture communication system, then he could put the sign with it, because now it was like concrete. It made sense to him. And it wasn't very long before he was also modeling the words right after, which just really increased his language. So the way things have changed so much is he is toilet trained. Luckily, we had, before video modeling was popular, we had a twin that could be a model, and we videotaped him in different situations, saying, oh, I've got to pee. And we would make a whole video of him going to the bathroom out of different situations, because Austin loved watching videos, and that taught him that he could tell us. We didn't have to tell him when he to go. And so it took probably 2 years to completely toilet train him, but I think that is probably better than a lot of parents go through. Today, he can tell us if he's sick. He can tell us where it hurts. He cooks all of his own foods. He does laundry. He keeps his room clean. He does. He dusts. He sweeps. He's a part of our household, and so he's expected to do the same things that anybody else in the household does. He is not a good communicator. He doesn't like to communicate, but he loves to craft. When he was little, he would pour out everything. You couldn't leave a glass sitting around. It couldn't be shampoo sitting around. Anything. We had to red paint. You might have saw the red paint. And so he would just pour everything, and now he creates candles. So he still gets to pour, but we get to make some money off of it. And he absolutely loves doing it.
Beautiful. Paul.
I would say with Kira, after her diagnosis and getting some, ways to communicate more effectively with her, processing time was the key. We didn't know that she needed 4 or 5 times processing time to answer questions. We were, young and we moved quick, and, we just would repeat ourselves. And then once we realized she needed the processing time, then we also realized that she needed visual aids. Primarily, she's one of these kids that if you put something printed in front of her, she's gonna read it. So we would make social stories for her about everything that was going to go on during the day. We would also put in things like, if this happens, then this will happen. So there weren't all these surprises, there weren't all these things that caused her anxiety. So I'd say that was a real pivotal point early, and we did that for years. Now she doesn't need it as much, but that was a breakthrough for us when we realized that if we want to, communicate with her effectively, type it up, print it out. So.
Cindy.
I'm going to go back to the bathroom thing. Now Carla walked out. I would not have been able to potty train my son without the help of one of her students at TAP. So we had took Race to TAP. He didn't talk till he was 4. So it was a lot of yelling and screaming at us because we didn't understand what he was trying to say. And I met Jackie and Nikki. So between TAP, Jackie, Nikki made amazing social stories for us. And so we did a lot of communicating that way until one day, bam, it stopped. Now the difference is he won't stop talking. It's almost like, I prayed for the day that he would talk, and now I'm praying for the day that he will shut up. Let's see. Now he understands. He knows what his diagnosis is, because I heard him, I think last week, he's like, well, I have ADHD and ASD, so, I need more time, people. And then he goes to his IEPs now, and he does all the talking, where it used to be me. I used to have to drag Nikki to my IEPs, because my son doesn't go to Unit 5, he goes to Eureka, and they are amazing. She'll tell you, well, elementary was so hard, but middle school and high school has been absolutely amazing. But Race has a job now. I never thought he'd have a job. He drives a car. He bought his own car. He's paying for it. So from the kid that couldn't talk, that screamed at everybody, and I had so many slap marks on me when he was little too. Now he's just amazing. He does have the thing. He can't communicate if it's not about what he wants to talk about, then he doesn't want to talk to you. Or how was school today? It was good. Okay. Do you have homework? Yes. Boom. But then, so.
I think that's 17.
I think part of it's boy too, yeah, so. But a lot different than what I thought I would. I did not think I would be sitting here saying my kid's gonna drive and do all those things.
It is amazing. Who's left? Me. Mindy.
All right. So how has Nick's changed? So he was super aggressive as a little boy. He didn't have words till probably 5, maybe after. Then he learned echolalia, and so you had to figure out what he was repeating and how it applied. He would get in trouble for something, and then he'd look and he goes, and you do not eat family members.
Who knows what movies that's from?
Took me a long time to see Stuart Little and the cat eat the mouse and get yelled at that you do not. And I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Or his other one is, do you want to have a bear fight?
Yeah, still not sure where that came from.
Lake Placid.
Okay, Lake Placid. So you got to watch the movies to know what my child is talking about. He still does a lot of repetitive speech, a lot of it. He excels in so much. He's so good. He loves his job. He is great when you give him a schedule. He always has been. He would create his own schedules because we weren't doing it right for him.
Or what about school? If school didn't do a schedule.
Yeah, he'd come home and he'd make the right schedule and take it in. He'd be like, this is what it needs to
For
say.
his teacher.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and he's really good at computers. He still requires support. Like I would not just have him go walking someplace, because when I tell him to look both ways, he goes, like, whoa, that really didn't help you see a car coming, did it? And he doesn't understand money. Like him buying a car, I think he would die if he thought he was going to lose all the money in his wallet, because a car and a house and a videotape all are the same value. There's no real difference in his head. Maybe hopefully someday there will be, but
Now that he's making money.
yeah, I don't think so. He still doesn't like that money spent, but we work on it. So I think that's it.
I remember, obviously, I know all of these families very well, but there was one day Mindy worked on one of our projects, and we were sitting outside her back patio working, and Nick came home from school, and he was probably, I don't know, 5th grade, 6th grade, and he walked outside. Stacy, Mindy, and I were sitting at the table working, and he's like, "It's a beautiful day." And the three of us looked at each other, and we're like, did he just make his first social comment? Like, none of us responded to the kid. We were so caught off guard. He just made it. We were so excited. Nobody, yes, Nick, you're right. It is a beautiful day. We're like, oh my gosh, this is a huge milestone, and none of us are
Congratulating.
reinforcing it. But yeah, his language, I mean, for all of them, their language was something they all engaged in behavior as that form of communication. I remember you coming into the office and sitting down and just spending hours developing PECs, printing out those icons. And that was like an aha. He finally had his words that would allow him to be able to communicate in a different way than using his behavior. It's huge. You all have children that are now young adults. How have your priorities changed over time? What were or are some problematic issues that you've experienced over the years? We'll start with Paul.
Well, sorry. I think early on, our priority was, trying to make sure Kira was achieving all that she could achieve, within the grades that she was advancing through, and worried and concerned that she was not going to be able to graduate high school, be able to go to the next grade, those types of things. I think the biggest shift for us was realizing that it's not really important the timeline in which she learns certain skills. It's that she actually meets the milestone at some point. And I think that's what we've experienced with her, is that she gets there. It just takes a little bit longer. So, and problematic issues that we've experienced over the years. Oh, we went through a biting stage and a hitting stage and a yelling stage. But over time, those became less of an issue. And right now, I don't think any of those are really an issue. So,
Beautiful thing. Mindy.
Okay, what was problematic? So he was super aggressive. He bit, he scratched, he kicked, he hit. And then he laughed because he thought the reaction was hysterical. And so he didn't always do it because he was angry. He did it because he wanted that reaction. So we couldn't have him around little kids because, passing strollers, he'd reach out and go and scratch them. And they'd start bawling, and the mother would be like, oh my God, you have a devil for a child. Like, sorry. He doesn't do that. He still has it boiling underneath. So when you really get him riled, you can still see there is that ability to be very angry, but I think we all experience that. So the fact that he knows how to control it is very good. Our priorities have changed over time, I think, because all we focused on was don't hurt people. And now it's like, how much can you grow? How much can you do? And he's doing a lot. So,
And I will say Nick was probably one of the first people to see or hold my babies And I think she was terrified. He came to see me in the hospital, and he held my oldest, and he's like, I love you so much, and never once had any, no.
Until he played horse with them in the front yard.
He was playing horse. He was just big, and they all do that. He did not intend, nobody ever got hurt. But we've also used my kids to teach my kids skills, but also used Nick to teach Nick skills, sitting at the dinner table to eat. So there's been lots of different opportunities where we've been able to. Gave up on that one. It's okay. It's all right. All right, Jackie.
Oh, gosh, where do you start with this?
Where have your priorities changed over time?
I can't say the priorities have changed a lot over time. We always focused very much on life skills with Austin, not knowing how much he would be able to academically learn. I thought if I could get him to read and write and do math at a 3rd or 4th grade level, that's pretty functional. And so that was always the focus for academics. But we always worked on what do you call it? Like if he's working in one spot, he's got to learn it in another.
Generalization.
Thank you. I went brain dead. So we worked on generalization. So anytime he learned one thing, we would take it to a new area of the house to learn it, and then we would take it outside, and then we would take it to a restaurant. We always moved it so that he always learned that he could do this in any location. But we always learned, teaching him toileting or showering, or I did not want to be giving him a shower when he was 13, just didn't want to do it. So I knew I had to teach him young. I wanted him, to pick out his own clothes, take his own showers, cook his own meals, help clean the house, help build things. You probably saw some pictures up there of him tearing up floors or putting together a ceiling fan. To me, those are skills that you need to live your life. So he changes our lights, he changes batteries, he does all those things that a regular household needs to function. So those priorities haven't changed. Problem areas are he's a grumbler. He was born a grouchy old man, and he will always be a grouchy old man. He will tell you to shut up and stop talking. He will hold his hand up, and if you don't stop talking, he might cover your mouth. So those are definitely problem areas. I've always been scared to try to get him a job out in public, because if he ran into the wrong people in the wrong situations, I knew that could lead to jail, and I'm not willing to risk that, which is one of the reasons we started his own business.
And that's been a very, very good business in so many different ways.
It's been great for him.
Yes. Cindy.
Mine is similar to all of theirs. Race wasn't a biter, but Race was named appropriately. He was a runner, so he ran, he hit, he screamed, just to communicate. But now that's all changed. It used to be just get through a school day without the school calling me. That was what I wanted, or a teacher emailing me like he did this, and it used to upset me so much because the way they would punish him was like, okay, we're having Chinese parade day. Everybody gets to go but Race. Well, to him, that hurt him so bad too, to the point that I didn't know it hurt him that bad till he was older. He remembers everything. He's like, you remember when I didn't get to do this or that? That really bothered me. And I'm like, oh, so I felt so bad that I didn't fight for him enough. But so now I think it's more, my priority has changed. Like, what's he gonna do? Because he never wanted to go to college. He never wanted to do anything but be a gamer after he hit middle school. And you can't make money doing that. And now that he's actually got,
You can now. Really?
tell him that.
Why not?
I know. So now that he's got a job, he actually has 3 jobs because he has 2 at school that he gets paid for, and then he gets paid at a restaurant. He washes dishes, which he wants to be a waiter. I don't think they want to put him out in front of people yet because he would go and talk about his coin collection instead of take their order. So
He did do great at pancake days. He had a list of what he was supposed to do. He
did, but I have to talk to the owner of the restaurant, but we'll see. But and I think that's why he does it. He liked washing dishes at pancake days too. So and now that he's earning money, he's like, oh, I think I can't make $12 an hour forever. I want to make this. So now he just got accepted to Heartland 2 days ago. Super excited in computer programming. So, but now it's like, where are you going to live? He is going to live with us. And my husband's like, Jackie, I'm the enabler, so we have to meet in the middle because I still make his dinner, but you have to remind him. Okay, so the showering thing, he showers, but it's like, did you put deodorant on? I don't want you to be the stinky kid. That's just
Write it on the mirror.
I should.
Dry erase marker or Sharpie.
When I'm not there in the mornings to remind him, because my husband's like, I'm not doing it. He needs to learn how to do it. I
Checklist on
put
the
little
mirror.
notes everywhere for him.
Nikki and I have done that for a child we worked with where we wrote it actually on the inside of a shower curtain. So he knew the steps to shower on his own so mom could get out of the shower with him.
And I don't know if you know this trick, Sharpie, you can, well, don't write on your wall with Sharpie, but
And it comes off with hand sanitizer.
so apparently hand sanitizer works. However, Expo marker takes Sharpie off of anything. So I can write it on like a laminated piece of paper. You just scrub it off with Expo marker. So it's a fantastic trick. So it works really well for showers. It will come off. But I also recommend your mirror. And then, yeah, or the court. Well, if he's going to put deodorant on in the shower, no, on the mirror. But yeah, see, always problem solving, always coming up with different strategies. All right. Did we get through everybody?
I think so.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. How has your community supported and accepted your child? What services that are available have been most helpful? And what has been lacking or maybe even disappointing? And we'll start with Jackie.
Well, early on, when Austin first got a diagnosis, there really weren't a lot of services in the community. So I spent a lot of time trying to connect with what was out there, and there really wasn't anything. Luckily, I met one woman who had an educational program that you could go in and work on computers, work on focus, and she knew of another lady who had a son diagnosed with autism. And so I called her, and through her, we met another woman, and we started a play group at my house, which is then spurred the Autism McLean later. But I also started gathering that information and created a resource book for the community. And over the years, we grew so much with making the networking and the connections and meeting families. And our play group grew, where I think all of our kids went to the play group at the gym. And that became our support group, because while the kids are running amok, we were able to stand in the corner and talk and problem solve. But as the kids got older, the SOAR program in town, the recreational opportunities, the crafting and the getting in the community, and the things that we developed through Autism McLean have been vital to his growth. I mean, he has friends, he gets invited to parties, he has things to do 3 or 4 times a week. I mean, he's always busy. So so it was disappointing to begin with, but the growth has been amazing, and we have a wonderful community for our kids right now.
And that was all started because president of Autism McLean.
No, it was other families.
But there was one person who led the way to really begin paving what that organization was, and that was Jackie. And it has evolved over the years, and our community does have many resources because of that.
She's a board member.
All right, we'll go on to Mindy.
So I wholeheartedly concur with SOAR. I didn't send Nick to anything SOAR probably until he was 15, because that's when he finally got kind of control of his aggression. And if you were aggressive, they didn't want you in SOAR, is what I read. Turns out they're a little more tolerant of flare-ups, so that's good. But Autism McLean was a lifesaver. I wasn't somebody who could go to support groups and chat with people. I needed to be doing something and then talking with parents that were there too. So that was a good resource. Miracle League is phenomenal. My son has his own Friends Gang group that has like, I don't know, 75 members. So he has been planning since, I think, 2016. Once a month, he gathers all of his friends and they go out to lunch or dinner or to the movies or to the zoo, or we're supposed to go to Yoder's down in Arthur on Saturday. So sometimes a little too far away. So those services were very helpful. Lacking or disappointing, back then, everything was lacking, so it was all disappointing, right? And like Jackie, I was like, oh, there's nothing for him to do. He'll never have anything to do. And now he's got like 8 things a week to do, and it's like, can we just stay home tonight?
We need a private Uber.
I know. Now, we can't talk because Nikki goes someplace every single night and tries to juggle 3 children, so that's really busy, but...
But Nick is a social butterfly, and
He
he
is.
coordinates and organizes
Yeah, he has...
multiple
he has-
events a week.
Yeah, he's doing once a month Zoom bingo and a Zoom movie. That all started because of COVID. And yeah,
Trash pickup.
yep, they do trash pickup. That's their civic duty. They've got a little Autism McLean gang sign. I can't remember what it is on the trail. So,
Yeah, he coordinates a lot of events, and many individuals throughout the community are involved.
yeah, he knows way more people than I do.
He has a huge social network. Jackie,
Didn't I do that? I did. I
Brent,
started.
who were you?
I started.
Okay. Cindy,
I did. Number 5.
I would say I wrote notes. So Nikki and Jackie were the most with Autism McLean, helpful supports that we had, along with ECE a little bit, because our ECE, she was a new teacher, so, and he's still friends with her on Facebook. I would say not our elementary school. We in District 140, there's 3 elementary schools. There's the 2 one-school classrooms, and then there's the one in Eureka, and we picked that one thinking that would help him the most, and it's almost like, I wish he would have had the single classroom. But I would also say, like, the special ed department from middle school on is amazing. They have, and he's like best friends with all these people. They're coming to his graduation. He can't wait. I think that's about, and I'm friends with Nick on Facebook, and he has way more fun than I do.
I didn't know you were friends with him.
Autism McLean, SOAR, especially SOAR right now is very important for Kira. She gets that brochure every couple months, and she reads it and rereads it and reads it again, makes notes, reminds me of when I need to get up in the morning at 7 a.m. and register her. And then she flies down the stairs that morning, and she has to have printed confirmation that I've signed her up for everything.
And I bet all of us have only missed one sign up that we now will never miss a second.
I'd say her high school experience was very supportive. And I think also after that, when she wanted to attend college, it didn't work out at Heartland. That was her first choice. But we figured she could go to Illinois State. She wanted to take 1 class a semester. We did that, and I went with her to her classes. And I think everybody I came into contact with, professors, Illinois State has an office there for
student
help.
access and support.
Yes.
Accommodations and support.
Thank you for that. And, which allowed her, extra test time and things like that. And I got nothing but support when she did that. And what has been lacking or disappointing? Well, I think that's probably... Who said if it's lacking, it's disappointing?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I have much more to add to that. Anyway.
All right. Next question. How have professionals helped and supported or disappointed you? Almost all. Paul, we'll go down the line the other way.
How have professionals helped or supported or disappointed you? Again, back to education, we've had some really key teachers that were very, very important. One or two have become family friends since and still spend time with Kira. Then there were certain grades where, she just didn't make any progress, and it was probably the environment that she was in. We had one teacher, for example, who would give her an A in everything. They thought that would keep us at bay. We knew she wasn't doing A work, so we were in there talking to the teacher. So that was a little bit disappointing. It earned us the title of, apparently somebody told us that her file at the school had written on it in red ink, very involved parents. So there were good years and there were bad years, more good than bad.
I would probably reiterate the same thing. I think when he was little, you said that they tested Nick multiple times because they thought he couldn't hear. Race was tested 3 times because he wasn't developing the way the doctor thought. But then when I told that doctor that he was diagnosed with autism, he's like, no, I don't believe it. And then we switched pediatricians because State Farm switched out, so I had to go to a different pediatrician, and that pediatrician's like, he does have autism, you just need to parent him better, and like, whatever. So that's the only time I can think of I was disappointed in a professional. So.
Thank you. Jackie, have you ever been disappointed in any professionals, or how have others supported and helped?
I'm going to start with early on. We had great teams. We had great speech, but great OT, great community services through TAP. The teachers and the aides that worked with Austin, he always had a one-on-one. They were always willing to listen to supports that I used at home that worked and carry those over to school, which, made that very seamless. And even his behavior plans, his payouts were at home for tickets he brought home. So he knew that everything carried over from one to the other. And so his growth through those years was amazing. My most disappointing would have been in junior high, he still had an aide, and Austin still has behaviors. If you're right there in the middle of his work, or you're racing it, or talking too much, he may do this. I mean, he's not going to take you down. But he does the hand smacks and stuff. And the high school filed 4 counts of battery against him when he was a junior in high school. So we had to hire a lawyer. It was very scary. It was very disappointing because we always worked so closely with the schools. The judge threw it out, but I was so upset that I just took him home and started teaching him. I think that when he got to high school, they forgot to look at him as a whole. All they saw were his behaviors, or they forgot to look at him as a kid and his learning styles and what he needed. I think they just stopped teaching him. Because when I took him home and we started homeschooling him, he gained 2 grade levels at home in the first year. So, and I don't know if that was because he was so anxious at school, the way things had been going, or if they had just stopped trying. So that was very disappointing, but it ended up being one of the better things that worked out for us.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so our first experience really with professionals was when we moved into someone's backyard. And I had the little girls come to my front door to play with my daughter. And so we were introducing, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. And I said, this is my son, Nick. He has autism. And the oldest little girl goes, oh, that's wonderful. She says, my mommy works with kids with autism. Turns out it was Stacy Bach. So my plus, because I got her and I got Nikki, and we were backdoor neighbors. Our girls were best friends. And so I connected to these 2 women who were lifesavers, who connected me to Jackie, which was wonderful. Which then I knew Chuck Hartzell, taking him into school. He was great. I mean, he was having teachers trained to be professional experts for autism. He did bring parents and teachers together to make committees. He was so forward-thinking. So Nick had a really good, those were all really good. Yes, I have the same horror stories of a few teachers who should not be teaching. But they probably still are. I had one aide, first day with Nick, I was trying to tell her, you know, you got to watch him. He likes to scratch other kids. Honey, don't worry a thing. You just leave him here. His teacher can tell me everything I need to know about him. I went, what? Okay. All right. Just, you know, watch out for the blood. Beyond that, for the most part, Nick is just, he went to Heartland. He had a phenomenal woman in the Halo program who is no longer on earth, but she was awesome. So we've had just really good experiences.
And I would say, knowing many of you, all of you, and all of your kids for a long time, I feel like the services and supports were heavy when they were younger. And it's really neat to see the growth that each one of them has made and how those supports are still utilized, maybe in different ways, but how independent each and successful each one of your kids are. And I think that is something, it was hard. There was lots of support that was put in. You survived day by day. And your focus has changed a little bit now. And I think a lot of that is because of the heavy support early on that you each put in place. And you have amazing kids because of that. Which leads us really to looking at the future. What are your most positive long-term hopes and plans for your child? And then on the opposite side of that, what's your worst fear? Jackie.
Well, most positive long-term hopes and plans that he'll continue to hold a job of some sort, whether it's making candles or doing something that he loves, just like any of my kids. I want them to do what makes them happy, makes them fruitful, and, you know, gives them a sense of purpose in their life. I think we all need a sense of purpose. That he can live semi-independently. He wants to stay at home. He doesn't want to move out. And I know that he's going to need some supports because he would let anybody in the house. He was just like, you know, come on in. I don't care. But with the advent of advent of Ring, it's very good because I can be gone for a little while and I can still answer the door. I can tell people, go away. You don't need to be here. Right. And he uses Alexa to order groceries and that kind of thing. So, you know, he is more independent utilizing some of that technology. My worst fear, obviously, is that I will die and who will take care of him the way that I take care of him? Who's going to get to know him the way I know him? And not that you know, usually your worst fear is that your child will die, but in our case, it's more if we die, what's going to happen to them then? And I think that probably is going to be the tune you hear all across the board here.
Paul.
Well, for the future, I just hope she can achieve all that she wants to achieve. She is not entirely independent. She still needs a lot of care, personal care. She wants to live with us and doesn't see that changing. Although every once in a while she drops this bomb about how she's going to have a place and do all these things, and we get a little anxious because she's just not ready for that. The worst fear is a little bit different. Obviously, it's that we'll pass and who's going to do these things, but it's that we don't want to unfairly burden her sister. Her sister has carried this with her for many years. We just found out a couple years ago that she's like, well, I can't move too far from you guys when I graduate college. And we're like, well, why? Follow the job. She's like, well, some point I'm going to have to take care of Kira. We've never said it, we never implied it, but she believed it. So I want to make sure by the time my wife and I aren't on this planet anymore that we have things in place so that it doesn't unfairly burden her sister, because she's entitled to, have her life independently and not have that following her for the rest of her life as well.
Cindy.
Mine is for his future. I would love for him to go to college. I never dreamt he would, and now that he is, I'm excited. Now my thoughts go to, I want him to maybe go to a four-year college after he goes here. I want him to be able to live on his own if he so chooses. I'm not pushing him out because I don't want him to leave. But we have an apartment in our house, and my mom is 80 now, so we flipped. Race moved into my mom's apartment about a month ago. She lives upstairs now. So when he graduates, he gets to start cooking his own meals, and Jackie's probably like, why aren't you doing it now? Because I still want him to be my baby. My worst fear is, you sparked a nerve for me because I didn't even, so I have written on my piece of paper when I die, what's going to happen when I die. Because in Race's mind, he's going to move out and live in a microwave tower on I-90 in Wisconsin by the Wisconsin Dells. And he can't comprehend that that's probably not for sale and you can't live in a microwave tower. And he tells, it's a big concrete building that can withstand a tornado. So he should be a meteorologist. That's what I want him to be. But I worry that he doesn't understand the concept of certain things like that. And then if I'm not here, who's going to guide him? And that he has an older sister who I think in her mind, same thing. She's like, okay, I'm going to inherit your house. We have another aunt that's going to give us her house. And she's like, Race could live there and I can take care of him. But now I'm thinking, boy, I never thought of that I didn't give her the opportunity to say no. Because in my head, I'm like, she's dating a guy now that would totally take care of Race because they're kind of the same person. It's funny. And my daughter's dating her brother. So, that's my fear.
Mindy.
Oh, gosh. So for the future, I want everything. I want whatever his sister has, I want him to have it too. I want him to have friends, and I want him to have somebody to love, and he has somebody he loves, and it's his daughter.
You've probably seen pictures of Nick
They
and
want to
Kira
get
up there.
married.
3 of them.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
my son.
Yeah.
He's the third wheel.
So he's convinced he's going to live on his own, that he's going to get married, that he's going to be a dad and make me a grandma, which that still just terrifies me on so many levels. But I want him to have a job. I want him not to have a job. I want him to have something that makes him happy. So whatever, a career, something he loves doing. I want him to make his own money and make his own way and not need me anymore. So I can't die until those things happen. I'm getting closer to dying, so I'm not as afraid that I'm going to die first, because I'm pretty sure I am. But I just want everything in place. I'm getting old, Jackie. I just want everything in place. So my fear is I won't have it all in place, that he won't have someplace to live and somebody to keep an eye. He has a sister. She doesn't want to help take care of him. I know that, and I've told her all along, you do not have to help take care of your brother. She probably will end up doing it anyway, but
She's a caretaker too.
no. I love my daughter beyond measure, but she is not.
Make sure that he's cared for.
So, yeah, she'll make sure somebody cares for him. So we're good there. Yeah, my worst fear is that I won't get it done.
All right, with that, we have 3 minutes left. We have one last question. So this will be like a power answer, power response. If there was one thing you wanted others who are now beginning their journey to know, what would you tell them? Paul.
It changes. Whatever you're thinking when your kid is in second grade, you can't imagine it's going to change. And it changes for the better. I think we can all say that. I mean, problems change, but what you think are going to be issues when they're 7 or 8 years old are not the issues that you have when you're 14, 15, 20, 25. So things get better.
Cindy?
I wrote something down. So I said, ask questions and go with your gut. If you think something's different, don't let other people tell you, nope, there's nothing wrong or whatever. Reach out. Push the school and advocate for yourself, because if you don't, no one else is going to do it for you. And like he said, he had that on his file. I know that they go, there's that mom. Be that mom or dad, because you have to be. And
Jackie.
Dream big, but start where you are. I mean, make sure you look at where you are right now, because if you don't get these small things done, you're not going to get to the bigger things. Push them out of their comfort zones. If it pisses them off, do it again. Keep doing it until it doesn't anymore.
And I would say throw out the box. You know, don't think inside just this is what worked before, so this is all that'll work. Try everything. You'll figure out something.
Beautiful. All right, really quickly. Nick and Nana and Sammy. Nick and Kira a few years ago.
Before they started dating.
These might all be Nick's, but they're still
Nick and us.
Nick and Austin.
Nick and Austin. And at one point, Nick and Austin were not the greatest
Couldn't
friends.
put them on the same bus together.
Like bus on field trip. Yeah, they had to be separated, and now
Now they're best
they're like glue.
He got kicked out of summer school because of Brian, because he bit Brian, but they're best buddies now.
Yeah, and that's Brian.
Helping Brian pop a balloon by sitting on him.
Nick and Sammy again.
I think my favorite picture that probably scrolled up there are Nick, Kira, and Austin, and they've got the FedEx, UPS, and the Amazon. That was their Halloween costume that year.
So they have done multiple Halloween costumes together. Do we have a question online? Yes.
Yeah, we do have a question online, and Sydney would like to ask Sydney, as a new teacher myself, what could the new teacher he had of the elementary school he went to have done better? Like, what's one thing the elementary school teacher could have done better?
Who is she asking?
Me. So this was his ECE teacher. So she didn't do anything wrong. I think she didn't have enough support, I felt, from other people. She did everything I asked her to do, and everything, like Nikki gave me because it was Brock and Race would scream at each other all day long, and because that's how they talk to each other. So just if someone gives you advice, take it, because I think she ran with what
Individualized support.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I would say helped the most.
There's a whole world of practices specific to individuals with autism, evidence-based practices. You can Google Affirm modules. They have trainings on them. We have loads of training on our website that is geared towards families as well as professionals. It's very foundation level information, and it is a great starting point and chunks of information. So, question in the audience? Can you, here.
We can hear him.
I'll just repeat your question.
For the parents up there, I know that you don't want to think about it, and all the stated that you don't want to think about it. How have you planned on them going into another place when they become more independent? Maybe going into a group home or some facility like that?
So the question is, what are kind of your next steps? Have you thought about group homes or what that next step might be for like living?
We've talked to Austin on if he, because when his brother moved out originally to go to college, we asked him if he would like to live in an apartment or someplace like that. And Austin does not want to move out, and probably because we are there. But we will probably leave the house to his brother with the caveat that Austin can remain in the home, and then we'll bring care providers. We've got a 5-bedroom house, so we could actually have a couple of care providers live there, maybe students, along with a friend or two if they wanted to. So that would help pay for the house and the upkeep and that kind of thing. So that's probably our long-term plan.
Anybody else?
I think Race is going to be able to live out on his own because he is so high functioning, but we need to start now, like we're starting now with the apartment. He's going to have to start cooking meals, and he only eats like 5 foods. So he needs to broaden his horizons like that way. But getting him to, my husband is the one that's better, like Jackie, push him to do more on his own, and I have to back off, I think.
Mindy?
So Nick doesn't want to live in a group home, but he wants to live somewhere with all of his friends. So in a perfect world, we would have an apartment building where all of his different friends could have a different apartment, and he'd be by all of them. But it's very possible that his end resort will be to live with Austin and probably Kira. So
Paul,
all
anything to
separate
add?
bedrooms, though.
It's his daughter.
Oh my. I knew it was going to come out. What was the question?
The question is next steps for living.
Well, we've done a lot of the estate and financial type planning so she'll have the means to do whatever it is she needs to do. But every time we bring up the group home thing, it just makes her skin crawl. So we keep trying to bring it up because at some point that becomes more of a, an eminent reality, I suppose. But for right now, she's happy where she's at. We're young. But it is something we try to work into the dialogue of, well, what would you need to do to be able to live on your own? Or what would it look like? And slow progress.
Starting the conversations.
Yes.
All right, well, we thank each one of our panel members today for sharing your stories, sharing so much about your children and your families, your hopes, your goals, your dreams, and your lived experience. Thank you, everybody. I hope you're walking away with new ideas and perspective. Thank you.